Now, when it came time to actually think about my hidden world and what it would be like, I decided that it really would be a world. It wouldn't just be one country, one place, one town, one village. It would be an entire world. And I started to think about the kinds of people who live there. And in the end, I decided on several different types, depending on the environment that they live in and what they actually do as well. Now, the first people that Thomas meets are the middlers. And the middlers are the people who live on the surface of the earth. Thomas has actually got into the hidden world in a car called Metallicus, which is driven by a dwarf called Adverse Camber. Metallicus is a talking car because things in the hidden world aren't like in our world at all. Anyway, they have just come off a little slipway on the motorway and come into this beautiful sunlit place. And anyway, so they go to the village of Alchurch, which is where Thomas and his father are going to be living. And Alchurch is a middler village, and across the river from it, across the River Riddle from it, is a spire, which is another middler village. They're very different kinds of villages, though. Each of them specialises in the production of dreams and various other things, of tricks and the little puzzles of our world. That's what the middlers specialise in, all those kinds of things. For instance, you know, where do all the old socks go? Where do all the pens go when you need one? How come you can never find one? That's because some middler trickster is playing tricks with you, is making a little puzzle for you. And then they're also very good dream makers. The middlers are the best dream makers of the hidden world. And in Alchurch, the dream maker is called Morphonery, and his cousin, Dr. Phantazos, is the dream maker in a spire across the river. And as I told you, Alchurch and Aspire are very different kinds of villages. And that's because Alchurch has decided to stay with the old-fashioned ways of doing magic, of making dreams. And it's a lovely little cosy village set around a village green with all these lovely ramshackle little shops and the Apple Tree Cafe, of course, which is where Thomas and his father actually go to live. And his father, Gareth, runs the cafe. So, you know, my dream cafe came into the actual book. Anyway, the Apple Tree Cafe is also owned by the mayor of the village, who's called Angelica Eyebright, and more on her later. But anyway, Alchurch is very cosy and old-fashioned. Aspire is very gleaming and modern. The aspirants believe that you have to move with the times, and that people, the obbos as they call us, from the obvious world, won't be interested in them anymore, won't want to come into their world if they stay, you know, old-fashioned. And so they have whiz-bang magic, they have fantastic things, they have dream factories with gleaming machines and so on. They're also rather snobby and they tend to look down on Alchurch a lot, but they really need each other. And they're all middlers that live there, except that there are a few people who come from other places. For instance, the baker in the bakers in both Aspire and Alchurch are Ariels, and I'll tell you about the Ariels in a little while. This is a picture of the Wye Valley, which is one of the places that I actually based the landscape of the Middler country on. It's a very, very beautiful, beautiful spot, very green with little hills and a lovely river. So this is the Wye Valley, yeah, very much based my landscape in the books. It's very much inspired by this kind of beautiful, beautiful landscape. Another sort of middler are the Arcadians, and you hear about them in Thomas Trew and the Horns of Pan. King Pan awards the greatest honour of the hidden world, which is called the Horns of Pan, which is awarded to people in the hidden world who have the best magic, the best dreams, those sorts of things. And he awards it only to a few people, and they're allowed then to live both in the hidden and obvious world. And in this book, in the Horns of Pan, there's the holders of the Horns of Pan who come to Alchurch and who proceed to set the village by the ears. It's quite a difficult adventure for Pinch and Patch and for Thomas. The next kinds of people are the Montagnards, and the Montagnards are from the rocks and mountains of the hidden world, basically. They're based very much on Viking mythology, on Norse mythology, so there's dwarfs, there's a few giants, but mostly dwarfs, trolls, dragons and things like that. And in this book, the third book, Thomas Trew and the Clint King's Gold, Thomas actually and his friends meet the Clints, who are a race of Montagnards, who live in the Clint Kingdom. And the Clint Kingdom is a very rocky place across the sea from our church. The next lot of people are the sea folk. And you meet the sea folk in the Thomas Trew and the Selkies Curse. Well, you meet one of the sea folk actually in the Clint King's Gold, because in the big convention there's people from all over the hidden world. But in this one, Thomas and Pinch and Patch and other people actually journey to the lands under the sea to try and undo a curse which has fallen on all the Selkies. Now, the Selkies are sealed people. The sea folk, there's all kinds. There's mermaids, there's sirens, which are bad mermaids. There's also dolphins, there's sea selkies, and there's the fin folk. The fin folk are very nasty types of people who are sort of shark-like. The next sort of people, and I mentioned them earlier, the Ariels. In this adventure, the fifth one, Thomas Trew and the Flying Huntsman, Thomas actually meets the Ariels. He goes to their country, and they have a beautiful city called Seraphimia, which is a bit like Venice in that it's built on sort of lagoons and canals, but it's the sky, of course, and clouds and so on. The Ariels there's all kinds of Ariels as well. There's some good ones, some bad ones, some gigantic ones and some small ones. There's all sizes. Cumulus Zephyrus, who's the baker in our church, he's a big Ariel, but there's little ones as well that they meet in this adventure. And also there are other people who live in the Skylands, including giants from the beginning of time, like the Flying Huntsman, who's a storm giant, very, very dangerous. And then in the Island of Ghosts, he goes to the ghost world, which is a part of the hidden world, but is rather different, because obviously it's the ghosts there, not sort of dwarfs and giants and trolls and other things like that. And it's in this one that he meets his mother for the first time since she died, because of course he meets her as a ghost in the Island of Ghosts. And he also meets Death, who's known as Mr. D, and who gets around in a very smart suit with rings all over his fingers and with 4 riders. He has a big car, big black car, and he has 4 riders. The one rider is red, one rider is white, one rider is yellow, and one rider is black, and they're all dressed from head to foot in leathers. Even their face is covered with leather, so you can't actually see their faces. But the other people that I haven't mentioned, and who are very, very important in all of the books, in fact, from the very beginning, from Thomas Trew and the Hidden People, are the Uncouthers. Now, the Uncouthers are, as their name indicates, very nasty types. They are the enemies of everyone in the hidden world. And they're really very uncouth in many ways, and they're really very nasty. Now, they're also the producers of nightmares. They live under a military dictatorship under General Legion Morningstar, who is also the crown prince of the land of Nightmare. And his mother, Queen Lilith, she's still the queen, but she's allowed her son to reign over most of it. And he's a really nasty piece of work, and even worse than his mother, who's not very nice at all. And his plan is he wants to invade the hidden world and to completely swamp it with nightmares, so that there would be no more dreams produced, no more beautiful imaginative things, no more magic, only bad magic and nightmares that would completely rule the hidden world. And it would make its way into our world, and people would only have nightmares, and they never have nice dreams, nice feelings, nice ideas, nothing at all. It would all be nightmarish and horrible. And once before, the Uncouthers have tried to invade the lands of the hidden people, and they were defeated by a coalition of all the hidden world, although many also allied themselves with the Uncouthers, because all the bad types of people who live in all the different parts of the hidden world allied themselves with the Uncouthers. But one of the people who really turned the tide was the first Thomas the Rhymer. And so it's because of him and because of the part that he played in freeing the hidden world, or the Uncouthers, of forcing them to go back underground where they came from, that that's why rhymers are so welcomed within the hidden world.